Hello out there and welcome to the table. So I made the plunge. I bought my very first knife from the James brand. And so again, from a knife person's perspective, the James brand is kind of seen, they're kind of seen like an outsider. You know, it's like a knife brand for non-knife people. So I picked up the Redstone right here. Main reason why is they recently had a sale on their website. So instead of like the usual, like what, 80 bucks this thing costs, they were selling it for $29. 29 bucks. I decided let's check this knife out, see if the James brand and its reputation is earned or not. And I say reputation because if you see, there's an older video when this knife first came out, Metal Complex, he made it. And so he savaged this thing. And he made the knife look not so great in the eyes of a knife reviewer. So can we salvage that reputation? And honestly, you might be surprised because the run of knives that he got in that video, that was again over a year ago, probably at this point. It's got to be different than what they're shipping now because I opened this box right here, and this is actually not a bad knife at all. So the fit and finish are really good because I mean, let's just start from the top here. So the blade itself, this is a 12C27 blade, which again is really nice considering the lower price point that I paid for it for $29, getting a Sandvik steel blade, that 12C27. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Nice little drop point design. Let's go ahead and check out the length because it's not a big knife. This is not a large knife by any means. Our blade length is about 2.5 inches long. Overall length, smidge over 6 inches long. So it's a smallish knife. You know, it's not going to be a large heavyweight thing by any means. It is what it is. It uses a crossbar style lock. So, you know, your axis lock type mechanism. And it actually does swing pretty freely. So this is something that on Metal Complex's video didn't work. So that, you know, or you can kind of see this blade, you know, it definitely swings. It's not stuck in the handle. It has a nice detent on it. So you can hear that spring, you know, when the thing goes back in. Perfect. You know, there's really no issue with that in my opinion. The recessed opening hole is kind of a little issue. I think it's more of a design choice than anything. But if you get your finger in there, you can still definitely flick it out without too much issue. And the blade definitely, it runs on bearings in there. So the action is going to be pretty smooth. And I don't know if that was always the case for this run of knives, but the actual design itself it's such an interesting piece because this, look at the back of the handle here. This entire handle piece is just one bent piece of metal. So the entire frame is just folded over and it makes for one, you know, solid piece of construction, you know. And we do have these scales, and I admit the scales are kind of oddball. We have two different scales on each side, and they're plastic, you know, have a little bit of texture to them. They don't feel cheap or anything. Taking a closer look right there, it's just, you know, something probably injection molded, mass produced really cheaply. What they really did well though, looking at the handle design, is this pocket clip. Now, I'll be honest with you, this pocket clip carries really deep. Like this is super deep carry. When this thing is in your pocket, literally nothing sticks out. You know, so that's really a positive thing if you want that super concealed, deep carry look to it. And of course, the knife includes the little lanyard on it. So that's not really my thing, but I figured I'd at least show it off before I take it off. But admittedly, it does make the knife really easy to get out of pocket because it carries really deep. So one tug on this lanyard and it's going to come right out of your pocket. Because of the smoother scales, you know, the pocket clip slides in and out of pocket with really no problem at all. We do have a little bit of branding right there so we can see the logo on the frame. On the blade again itself, you can see the James logo up there. So it's not really screaming anything. Honestly, it's just a very small, pocket-friendly knife. It doesn't feel too heavy. Let's go ahead and check out the weight on this thing. So our Redstone is coming in at... coming in less than 2 ounces. So yeah, 1.9 ounces. That's not heavy at all, to be honest with you. And so for a 2.5-inch blade, less than 2 ounces, this is actually pretty nice, guys. I'm not sure where the negative publicity is coming here. So this is pretty impressive. So James Brand, thumbs up. But I'm not done here. I feel like we need to do more to clear the so-called name of the James Brand. So what I went ahead and did, if you recognize this logo right here, this comes to us from a company called Flytanium. And they actually have a run of aftermarket scales for the Redstone. So I figured, hey, I'm going to get this knife for a cheaper price. Let's put the rest of that knife budget into upgrades. So what we have right here are some scales that go onto the redstone. And you can buy them. They come in a bunch of different colors because, of course, these are titanium upgrades. So we are taking essentially a very cheapy feeling knife, and we're going to upgrade it with some, in this case, you can see this is knurled titanium. So it's going to be a little bit heavier than these plastic scales. And we'll see once it's all assembled exactly how that goes. But the feel in hand on these is excellent. It feels really good. And these are just plain, blasted titanium color. But you can get these things like in rainbow color, blue, pink, whatever, And you can see the little pins they have on the back that, kind of keep it, anchored to the frame. So it's going to be kind of interesting. So I have not taken this knife apart yet. And honestly, one of the first things I'm doing right now is I'm about to take it apart. So we will see how that goes. I'm hoping it's not going to be too onerous. I am always wary taking apart crossbar action knives, just because those springs in there can be quite a pain in the behind to get reassembled again. So we are going to try this out and see what the James Brand Redstone looks like with some upgrades. So I'm going to clear out the table and start working on this. And hopefully, once we resume the video, we will have a different knife. So stay tuned. Okay, so partway through this, bottom scales went on just fine. No real issues. And they look good. Top scales, I think I'm going to have to remove these screws here that are in the lock action in order for this piece to come out. They appear to be Loctited in, so I'm going to try and apply some heat to it and see if that can loosen the Loctite. So we'll try that out, see how that goes. Alrighty, so that took a bit more effort than I was planning. So this one is not at all a disassembly for beginners, but let's go ahead and check out the results. So we can see the scales are replaced. Knife is slightly heavier, so let's go ahead and weigh it out. So the new weight. So our redstone with titanium knurled scales now is coming in 3.2 ounces. So that definitely does add some heft to the knife. But overall, let me just give you some tips. Now, this bottom scale was fairly easy to take apart. There's a screw here. There's a screw on the inside of the frame that you have to move the blade up to access. And you can see that kind of in there. Let me point that out to you. So right in there in the handle. So you just screw it out once this scale is gone. So that was easy. This hex bit right here is actually going to be, what size did I use? This right here is a 9/64. And so that's something of an uncommon hex size that you may not have, but it was the one that fits right in there. You may be able to use another metric size as well that's equivalent to 9/64. I think that would work. But you really want to crank that down tight so that the scales are not loose. See, I still feel a little bit of looseness in there, so I'm just going to crank it down a little bit more. There we go. But the pocket clip is only one position pocket clip, so that's fairly straightforward as well. Again, like I predicted, the hardest part about this disassembly were these crossbar lock screws. Those are T6 Torx bits, and they are Loctited in. So what I had to do is I took the soldering iron and I placed it on there to heat up the Loctite and loosen it. And then what you would try to do is have one screw on each side and twist, but that was just way too awkward to make that work. So what I ended up having to do was put one of these in a vise, hold it down on top, and then from the top, spin it out. Then once one side was loose, the other side did not want to come out. So once I had one scale off, I was able to stick the actual barrel of this lock into the vise, crank it down so it can't move, and then come in from the top and spin it loose, essentially. So step 1, remove the Loctite, heat it up. Step 2, use a vise to hold down one side tight while you unscrew the other side. So that is highly not recommended, but the results are what they are. So I figure most people buying this knife from the James brand are not going to have the wherewithal to change out the scales. But that being said, it does look, in my opinion, much better. There's definitely more of a hand feel to this knife. So I think that is a huge upgrade, in my opinion, for what is essentially an inexpensive knife. And so I think these things are going to be on sale for a few more days. I don't know if any of these $29 ones are left, but see what they have in stock. Beautiful satin blade right here. I think it's worth checking out. So what do you think of the James brand? Do you think putting on scales was worth it? I think they look pretty darn nice. I think they're pretty cool. So tell me what you think in the comments below. Hope you all have a nice day, and I will see you later.